Hello internet, my name's Lave and this week I watched Supersonic, the documentary about Oasis. They're just rock and roll. So of the recent and up and coming music film documentaries like Amy, which has the same producers on this, and Ron Howard's Beatles documentary 8 Days a Week, this was the one that I was most invested in and wanted to see just because I was a fan of them and I was around when they exploded onto the scene. Not that I wasn't around when Amy Winehouse came onto the scene, I just wasn't like her #1 fan. I think she's got some good music and I did really like the documentary Amy, which I do own. So this documentary is directed by Matt Whitecross. I'm not familiar with any of his other work, but it does chart their early years growing up in Manchester and tracks their rapid rise to fame from getting signed to their first few gigs and then going on their first world tours. And it does explore the contentious relationships between brothers Liam and Noel Gallagher, but it doesn't go into real depth. But then their bust-ups were always so public that everyone kind of knows it anyway, so I can understand why they explored it a little, but they didn't go into real great depth and examine why they're like that. Perhaps Noel says it best in literally a couple of sentences when he describes himself as a cat who is independent and fine being on his own, whereas Liam is a dog who wants the ball to be thrown so he can chase it and just wants all of that attention. And Liam's like, don't give a fuck, you I'm the cool one. They also touch on the relationship that they had with their parents. Their mother, who they obviously adore, does appear in this. They also talk about their father, who does sound like a bastard, but they absolutely let their feelings be known about him. What does surprise me is that it doesn't really explore the creative process and how they created their songs or music. Maybe that's just because their creative process was write a song, sing it, done. There is one occasion when Noel turns up to the band with the lyrics for Live Forever and they're all like, no way mate, you didn't write that. And he's like, why didn't I? And it's like, oh, that's actually very, very good. And Noel's like, yeah, I know, I'm talented. And to be fair, he is a talented songwriter. What the film does do really well though is capture their drive to succeed and the absolute chaos that ensues from their drug-fueled rock and roll lifestyle, which they just absolutely went headfirst into and were like, just give it to me. We want it all. And it really does feel like you go on this journey with them. This film is absolutely entertaining and it's really hilarious as well. I didn't realise how funny Noel and Liam were. It's hilarious. I was really impressed with the amount of footage that they were able to obtain, particularly from their early years, and they do something really interesting. So when they're narrating their stories, they do try and match up with footage of them saying what they're talking about. It's not necessarily the sound from that footage, but they manage to link it up. The whole thing has been edited together really well with interviews from the band members, Noel and Liam, to the producers and their mum. And whenever they don't have any footage of what they're talking about, it's complemented with motion graphics and some animations which were really cool. It's got a really nice style, particularly in a story about when they get on a ferry to Amsterdam. It's just the funniest thing. I was in absolute stitches. The only other slight disappointment that I had with the film is that it does end at a time when arguably it was going to get even more interesting. I'm not going to spoil exactly when. As I say, I don't think the point of this film is an in-depth examination of them. I think the whole point of it is just capturing a sense of what it was like for them, their rapid rise to fame and the toll that their lifestyles took on them. There are points when some of them give up, some of them are just sacked. The whole point of this film is that you enjoy the music again and go on this journey with them, and it's an undeniably entertaining, hilarious journey. I really enjoyed it. So that's my thoughts on Supersonic, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I would absolutely recommend you go and see this documentary. I don't think it's the best music documentary ever. I definitely think that Amy was a more emotional and hard-hitting film for obvious reasons, but it does also explore her creative process and her music better, I think. But Supersonic is unquestionably more entertaining. I think any hardcore fans of Oasis will still enjoy it, despite the fact that it doesn't really tell you anything new. And anyone who wasn't a fan of Liam and Noel Gallagher and Oasis, then you're probably gonna hate them even more, which makes me love this even more. So thanks very much for watching my review of Supersonic. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give the video a like and please share the Lave. Just rock and roll. subscribe.